This is the
June 10th.
the June 10th, 2021 work session for the Historic Preservation Commission, and we will start. Okay. We don't do any of that, so do we have any citizen comments?
No, not for work session.
Okay.
Not for a work session.
Oh, right.
Okay. We'll go through who else here real quick though, just
Okay,
for the
sure.
record.
Sure.
So we have Marianne Benoit, Sue Ward, Cheryl Cease, and Tanguy Lebrecht in the room. Jim, are you on the phone? Okay, but you do still have a quorum.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Clerk Stullard. Okay. So I'm going to start with I guess I'll wait to the actual meeting.
Right.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think it's CLG.
So we've got a lay down by both Marianne and Tanguy, both of which are pertinent. Sue has been doing fundraising. So,
I just follow along.
yeah, we're real excited. Who would like to start?
I would love to.
Great.
I'd love
Commissioner?
to talk a little bit about timeline and so on, because it all wraps up in the things that Marianne has done a ton of work, and
Okay.
Sue has done a ton of work and so on. So I'm just giving kind of a general overview. I also got some very recent information. I'm going to actually hand this over to Commissioner Ward in a minute, but I just got information on our donations and so on. Now, we did say we don't necessarily want to do names and things at this point because we don't know. We will make sure that everyone is recognized, but we don't know in this public setting if people want to be recognized for dollar amounts or anything yet at this point. So we won't talk about that yet till we've had a chance. But
Commissioner Lebrecht,
yes.
thank you for doing this.
I'm
I
not
wanted
just-
to identify who you are.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Yes.
I was just wondering, after all the donations come in, can't we just put the people's names on the thank you sign and
yeah.
do it alphabetically, so it doesn't really matter?
Right,
As long as they
Exactly,
donated.
but
That's kind of what I
That's the
want.
important thing.
Yeah.
As I was having, thank you, as I was having a conversation with Director Kingsland about this, and she gave me some, Ms. Ambrosiani gave the information to her, and then I talked to her, and we got the most recent information. Just mentioned we didn't know yet if those people specifically wanted to be named for the amount that they gave, so internally we can talk about that, and we can do some reporting, but we'll make sure they all make it on the sign. But so I am going to say that even though we have these committees and I am chairing the finance committee, if you will, I have to give the lion's share of the work is being done by Commissioner Ward and former Commissioner Iris Darling, and they have done a tremendous amount of work in convincing people how wonderful this project is. The work that Commissioner Benoit has done with the PowerPoint presentation, which has been shared with some people as well, is kind of huge. And so the total dollar amount, and I'm going to be making a donation as well, but the total dollar amount, without talking dollar amounts necessarily, but the people, Commissioner Ward, if you would, this is what you and I have been talking about. This is who we've got. And so...
Before you start,
Yeah.
I would just like to acknowledge that our city administrator is here, Ms.
Hello.
Kingsland.
Hi, sorry I'm a little
So,
late.
so Director Kingsland was kind enough to share that information with me, but right now, with either intended gifts that we know about or gifts that we have received, is about $6,400 total, which is super exciting. Yes.
Just before I walked in this room, I was talking to Jeremy,
Uh-huh.
and, I was asking about the donation I made, because I hadn't heard anything back. He said, well, things have been really coming in at the last minute. He goes, just today we had like 4 or 5.
We did.
And yesterday we had like 2 or 3, so I wasn't sure if you got that all of those.
I think we did.
Yeah, I
So I'm
think-
going to let, if I could let Commissioner Ward, if she doesn't mind, say who those folks are. We don't necessarily go into dollar amounts, but
Okay.
those are who we have either confirmed or that will be coming, including mine as the
And-
not received yet.
Former Commissioner Iris Darling and myself sat down and made a list and contacted a large number of people, and I still think there'll be more donations
Yeah.
coming in. We've had verbal commitments from you know, several other businesses downtown. But we've received donations from Sweet Darlings, Iris and Hugh Darling, the Seward Rotary, Ms. and Mr. Leslie Wilfer, Tony's, Brown and Hawkins and Cobble Company, Two Black Dogs, the Lindsay family, Petro Marine, Apollo Restaurant, Coastal Heritage Properties, Arctic Paradise B&B, Northern Light Staging. We've had some verbal commitments from the First National Bank of Alaska, from Tufted Puffin, and a couple, a couple others that I can't just quite remember. But yeah, we've had quite a bit of response, and I just wanted to throw a bouquet to Marianne, Commissioner Benoit. The video that you put together was very instrumental. The video that you put together was quite instrumental. It just was a lot easier to explain to people. And I would also say when they saw the quality of the signs, they were totally impressed. Carol Lindsay particularly commented that she was most impressed. So I suspect that if we do additional signage in the future, we may get not only the 20 we currently have, but there'll be other people. I think it's going to kind of grow exponentially. But everybody has been really, really receptive.
So a picture is worth 1,000 words and a video is worth thousands.
Yeah.
And letters and
And you know, there are still a couple.
Convincing by you guys is worth a lot.
Yeah, there's still a couple people that I know Iris may try to reach out to that we just missed. We'd go and it was lunchtime and they weren't in the office, or you know. So there may be a couple more. So I'm hoping we're trying to close it down. But anybody out there, if you're listening and you want to contribute, we're happy to have it.
Awesome, thank you. And so,
Thank you, Commissioner Ward.
thank you so much. So since Director Kingsland is here, she explained something to me, and I'm not very good at repeating it properly. But basically, we're ensuring that, or we're recommending and working with city administration, with finance. It's a little complicated right now because things are all changing. Mm-hmm. But to make sure that this money can carry forward into our future endeavors, whatever we don't need. Maybe you can explain that a little better than I. But she is aware of that and is working with us to make sure we do that properly.
Good.
Yeah, I met with the new city manager, Jeanette Bauer. If you haven't met her yet, she's a pleasure to work with. And Stephen and had explained it really wasn't clear to me exactly how the donations were going to fit under the CLG grant, and whether they were specifically for the CLG grant or whether there is a way for those monies to be carried over to you know, an extended walking tour project. So they're aware of that question. The finance department, I talked to the deputy finance director about it too, so he's also aware of it, and we had some ideas about how that could be done. But they hired a new finance director who will be coming on soon. I can't remember what the date is. And then an interim finance director in the meantime to carry through. So there's a lot of personnel kind of changeovers within city administration and within finance that just makes it a little bit harder to figure out exactly how things will work out. But I have full confidence that the city will figure that out. And so we'll work out a way to ensure that any funds that can be carried over to the next project will be carried over.
Ms. Kingsland, does SHPO have to be involved in that decision?
I don't believe so. I believe it might be more of an issue whether or not it was specified for the CLG grant specifically, or whether or not it was like some of the donations were, you know, historic walking tour, you know, or something like that. If it says CLG grant specifically, that could be more binding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, but those are all things that will be worked out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really do want to publicly thank Director Kingsland, who's been super helpful with me as I've been trying to work through some of these things, and she brought that up this afternoon. I had struggled to figure out exactly what the words might be to ask that specific question, how do we know where to make sure we keep the money? And she brought that up and had already done that research without me prompting that, so thank you very much for that. I appreciate it very much. So super exciting from that standpoint, and then just from a general timeline. I apologize that came out so small because it's kind of hard to read. But we are on track with timeline. A couple things that we have recently added. Because I can't read this one here. So, revised, really what's happening, Commissioner Benoit will report on where we're at as far as both the walking tour printed parts. I think you just got something back from Peter. And then I also reached out to Peter Corvus Designs about when the signs would be delivered. His message back to me this afternoon was that he has a message out to iZone to find out and confirm how we were on shipping date of the signs and or the posts as well too. It was supposed to, per the original timeline, as of today is when those things were going to be shipped. I don't know where we're at in that. We're going to probably move back a little bit when the printed map will be done. Once it's actually done, it won't take any time. It's literally going to be printed next door to Corvus Design's office. And we don't have to worry about the shipping because I will pick it up in Anchorage and bring it here. So we'll have our printed ones for us. And then again, the biggest, most complicated part of all this, which we get into this later, is how do we get these things installed? Commissioner Bernard has done a little bit of research, preemptive research on that, on how we might practice, if you will, on some of these signs, so we can figure that out. And to me, I'm a lot reluctant to really engage all of our potential partners for the install until I know that those things are in hand, because I don't want to waste people's time and say, oh, we're going to do it next Thursday, and then we need the signs in hand. I did provide my address for now for those signs to be put in, and then per our discussion, they can either go in your trailer or I can bring my trailer down, but I think that'll make it mobile, so when we're going out and about, we can do that. We are not sure whether we're going to be doing a simple auger. We're going to test that, a hand auger, like a motorized thing, or whether we'll do a big, huge thing, an excavator. The consideration there is I don't know that people necessarily understand when you show up with a little Bobcat, you make a 4 foot by 4 foot hole in their yard. It's a lot messier than a simple auger type of thing. So we got a couple things to figure out from that. I've priced everything out. I have reserved the equipment with Resurrection Tool Rentals. You say you can move that timing, no problem, no commitment. We didn't have to put any money down. However, the tricky part is that we know, Kingsland, we know that we have to spend all the money by the 30th. So if we decide that we're going to rent the Bobcat or the auger or whatever it is, we will have to pay for that, and I've already had the discussion for them. Anything we pay for, if I buy the concrete, the sonotubes, and ask for reimbursement or whatever, I'll at least have to have all of my receipts in, right? So if I have the receipts in by the 30th, I don't have to be paid back by the 30th.
Right, yeah.
Correct?
So we have to have all the invoices for this grant project in hand.
Yep.
And so we have, some time in July to pay those out. The grant report is due the end of July. So there is a little bit of time, I think SHPO's given us a little bit of wiggle room with that, but all the invoices have to be in hand by the 30th.
Okay.
So we're okay from all of that perspective. We're good on time. So walking tour map design, that design's been basically complete. You're waiting for feedback on the narrative and all that. Thank you for that. Equipment's reserved, manufacturing signs, all that stuff's been sent off. We're just waiting to find out when it's shipped. Fundraising activity is beyond any expectation. Thank you so much. So we're going to be fine on budget. I think we're going to be fine on timelines. But again, to be clear, the SHPO is fine with us receiving signs, doing the public event, which is going to be
The
with
28th.
the city council, correct? We're going to show this
Yes.
wonderful video, PowerPoint. Once we've done that, we have met our requirements for the public event that we have to do.
Nice.
The next part is to get the signs in. SHPO made it clear to me that we were okay to have some leeway. If we've got them and we're displaying them, I mean, we talked about taking even the thank you sign and the pre-final version of printing out kind of like a real estate sign kind of thing that we can poke in the ground at the library. It'll look nice, but poke in the ground so that we have something that properly acknowledges on time. And, but we can display the signs or even facsimiles of the signs anywhere, the library or whatever public building that we want. And then slowly get those signs put in, which would be a whole heck of a lot better. There is not going to be any 26 signs in one weekend kind of thing. It's basically impossible. There's too many bits and pieces. We're working with 811 locate to figure out where things go. Some yards are gravelly, some are not.
Some are on bedrock.
Some are on bedrock. Yeah. So, anyways, that's kind of where we're at. We are on track with a lot of hard work from a lot of people, and I will truly say that I've been project managing, but there's a lot of on the ground stuff that's happening by other people. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone for that.
Commissioner Tongi?
Done.
Okay.
Turn this off.
So I stopped by Resurrection Rental and had a great visit with Ralph Ferguson, a friend. And, you know, I found out that he is going to give us a nice discount on the equipment.
Good for you, because
Yes.
I asked him and he said no. Mary Ann asked people for things and they said, yeah, you guys are so much better than me.
They're
I'm in the wrong business. I'm in the wrong
They
business.
say yes to us and no to you.
Thank you. I actually saw you talking, ma'am. I didn't interrupt you. I walked in to get something and then I was like, oh, I'm leaving her alone. She's working her magic. So good.
Okay, so,
Great
yeah.
work.
And so he told me that we can't use the pole digger because there's too much gravel in town and well, it's not too much gravel. It's that you run into these big boulders and that's what makes it difficult. So that's
Okay.
why he said that we should use the little backhoe
Bobcat.
thing. Yeah, the little Bobcat that's got the smaller bucket, not the big thing.
Right.
And then we'll use that.
Wonderful. And I did speak to Commissioner Pemberton and he did say, now, here's the caveat. He said he's absolutely 100% willing to help. Unfortunately, is in the job that he has, he's sometimes been working 7 days a week. So that's, again, he can't say, well, I could be there next, he can do it, but he can't say I'd be there Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 5. Like
Right.
we're going to work with him. We'll have the signs in our hands, we'll have the posts in our hands. We'll kind of scope this stuff out, and then we'll
Figure out when
we'll figure out where to go. And I think we can get plenty of help. Rotary has offered to help. Once we actually put this out on social media or whatever, I guarantee you that we're going to get a ton of people stepping forward saying, I want to help, but we don't want to do that unless we're like, we have 5 signs we want to put in at these locations. This Saturday is the kind of thing that we're looking at. And there are other sources. We even talked about, it was funny because we talked about the Church of Latter-day Saints, and I wasn't sure about what their actual presence was or wasn't here, but I was walking the dogs in the parking lot over here. There was 30 kids here yesterday from LDS. And they were attending a camp in Moose Pass, and they were doing a service project. So they had brooms, and they swept this entire area. It took them hours, and got all the
Wow.
rock out and stuff that had been dropped from probably during the icy times. And I know for a fact they're statewide. I know for a fact if we asked them to come down for a weekend or something,
they would help.
they would do it.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
so I think that the resources are there. We just need to say, okay, we've got these signs. Here they are. Please join us. But it's too complicated to try to guess now. Commissioner Benoit and I talked about that. We're trying to like give Rotary a date. I don't have the signs, so we need to be thoughtful of people's time. You know about volunteers, and if you promise them something, don't have something for them to do, they don't end up volunteering again.
Yeah, that's very true.
So that's great. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner LeBrecq. Commissioner Benoit, would you like to?
Sure. Okay, so what's been happening since our last meeting is we sent all the signs to the manufacturer, which is iZone, and then went through several more edit processes like we have to do for everything. Just going back and forth and reviewing and making sure there's not like one possible thing wrong. I mean, checking and checking and checking. So we did that, and finally we did have some things we wanted to switch. So we paid $90 to get all those changes made.
That's all it was. That's great.
Yeah, and then they are being manufactured right now. The same thing with the thank you sign. That's complete, except as we know, now we're going to, the first one was being manufactured, but then we found out we have more donors. So I think what's happening right now is that we've decided we'll just pay for another thank you sign that has all the donors, and we'll get the first one, and maybe we put it out there, maybe the second one comes a little bit later, and then we just replace the first one with the second one with all the names as soon as it comes in. So that's kind of my understanding. Soon as we get the names, I'll work with Peter to make sure we get a new updated sign. I just want to make sure all the spelling's correct. And I think if you're okay with it, just alphabetically putting people's names
That's
would be
a
a
good
good
idea.
way to go.
Really good idea.
Yeah, just alphabetically, I think is really good.
Okay,
And I
so
expect a couple more to come in over the weekend.
let's see. The other thing
Tweak
was,
early
I
on the
put on
list.
this thing that I submitted before, I submitted a donation for each of my businesses. Before I was like, is that okay to do it? And I just did it. And I guess the question is it okay to put their business names on the sign? Because I did donate.
Well,
I agree.
Jaffa Construction is on there, right?
No, no, they haven't made, but there's other.
I know,
businesses.
but we listed him, so we want to take him
Jaffa's
He's
off.
on there.
Is on as a
What's that?
donor.
He
He's
is on there.
As a donor
Yeah,
and
we
as a
talked about
property.
removing that on the final thing, unless he had indicated that he might be giving some money, but he hasn't done it
Right.
yet. He's been giving a lot of time. He's given me some expertise on how to dig things, and we've spent a lot of time on the phone, so he was
Well, then
an in kind.
he can be listed not as a donor then, just as,
As an interested
contributor.
party, just like
Yeah.
the people who've been working
Con-
on the,
yeah,
on their,
contributor.
giving their house stuff, yeah, no, he'd be
Yeah.
listed in that way.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't have a problem with there being businesses, because you got Brown and Hawkins, you've
Yeah.
got
There will be-
Tony's.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I just thought I'd check. 'cause
Resurrection Rental?
I'm a commissioner. Nobody's probably gonna know that those business names are me, but.
You're leading the way, I think there'll be others that will do that.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's see, the walking tour map information, so I've previously submitted, like the list of like, here's all the sites and here's the narrative, what it's gonna say, the information that would be on the back of the map, knowing full well that that was like way too much stuff. So I sent it to Peter and he's like, that's way too much stuff, so. He's like, you could do an informational brochure, you could do these things, we'll staple it together and we'll make a pamphlet. I'm like, no, that sounds way too complicated. How about if I just make it shorter? So I cut it back as much as I thought that I could, putting the most detail on the places that basically don't have a sign, but giving enough for the places that do have a sign so that people are interested to go see it. And I've sent him that. And I also this past week worked with him where he sent me some aerial photos and he said, can you please put a number on this map for every one of these sites exactly where these things are? So I did that and sent it back. And supposedly he's going to send me a draft walking tour map with all the locations on it mid to late next week. Plus it'll have my revised shortened narrative, which is what I submitted in this laydown. And then we'll see. We'll see, is it still too big? In which case we'll have to
Do
take
more.
out more. Or if it'll work. So we'll just have to see. I can't tell until that happens. He originally told me like one sentence per sign, which is really hard.
yeah.
So, I'm gonna try to get as much in there as I can.
Okay, now, go ahead, then I'll.
Our walk, I did a walk with Lee on Saturday. Did you look at their little brochure map thing, one pager?
No.
Well, they have, their little route, which is much simpler than ours, for sure, but it's really easy to follow. You might want to take a look at it.
Okay, I'll take a look. Plus, well, this particular tour, we're not doing in order.
Right.
Because it was too complicated.
No,
Yeah,
right,
no.
right.
Okay, so I'll take a look at that.
Commissioner LeBrecq?
I was only gonna address probably your point that you mentioned at one point about making it a larger piece of paper, if you will.
Yeah, that's
But
been,
they said that it was, he said it was an odd size
Right.
for the fold that he's gonna do, so
Yeah.
that's why we're kinda limited on the size.
yeah, Commissioner Benoit informed me of that.
Let's see. Okay, sign installation, utility line locations. I created a list of all the addresses, and gave it to Tongi to go to 811.com, and then for the city property, it's like, well, each city property is huge, like how are they gonna know where to possibly look? So went GPS every spot where we wanna put the sign, got latitude, longitude, put it on there so we could narrow it down.
Huge.
And,
She's amazing.
Yep.
so you have all that information and Tongi's gonna work with them. My thought was, we should probably like experiment on the city property before we experiment on the property owners.
Good idea.
And so I thought, okay, like
Quick
which
adjustment.
city property is like the farthest away from people's eyes? How about the Mount Marathon one? So I thought, let's do that one first. That way, if we screw something up, it's not, now that I've announced it to the entire world, totally visible to all people. But we could try, do that one first, and maybe Sue would let us
Yeah,
experiment on
absolutely,
hers.
and because I had 811 out there a couple, 3 weeks ago, where I was going to put the sign is right where my sewer and water line is, so I have to come up with another plan.
Yep.
So we may have to have them back out just to make sure my other plan isn't in the middle of something.
Well, so far.
But my house, you can use my house to experiment, no
Okay.
problem.
So that's what I think would be a good idea. Hopefully, my impression is that all the commissioners talk to all their people that are gonna have posts going in the ground, like where's your first location and where's your plan B, in case there's something there. Also, I did call Tyler Florence and talked to him and said, so this is where we're at, what's happening with the signs. We've got all these people that are gonna volunteer and we have the money for the equipment and the supplies and the signs are coming. The only thing is none of us are experts on installing them. We think we know how to kind of do it. We've got directions, but we haven't ever done this before. We really want to make sure it's right, especially those ones on city property, which I'm sure you would like to make sure are straight and right, considering they'll be there for like 30 years. I said, would you guys consider giving us somebody that could help us, because they have so much expertise with all the signs they've done out here.
Yeah.
So he said, Adam, who I believe worked with us on Hoban Park, was gone, but he'd be back in a couple weeks and Adam could probably help us. I'm not sure that they're gonna be there for every single sign, but I
we
think
could
they're
do
good for
one,
the beginning
yeah.
for guidance, so I thought, we have like 5 or 6 city properties.
Yeah.
Maybe if he could help us and we do those first, then we'll know what to do.
Yeah.
And how to do it.
Excellent idea.
So that's the plan, as soon as we get the stuff, so it would be great to get 811 to come and be okay, with the city properties first, so we could start those first.
And the 811, to your point, agreed, thank you for providing all the information. The thing with 811 is they only guarantee their locate for 15 days. So we get the city locate, and then Sue's property if we need to relocate for the stuff you
Well, I want to
talked
move
about.
it completely to the other side, so I need to make sure where they took that house down, there isn't sewer and everything on that side.
So it makes sense to do those first, and they explained to me, and Commissioner Bonat really explained to me how it worked, and then I did a little bit more digging too, but they bring all the utilities out.
Yeah,
So you can't just like willy-nilly be like, hey, why don't you guys just come by? Like, it's a complicated thing. They have to bring everybody out, so they want us to be really respectful of not asking them to come out 10 times.
10 times.
Or
Can we have them do it all at once then?
that's
Or
up,
2 days?
that's up to them.
We'll let them
So
schedule it, I
they have
think.
people
Well, no, I know,
contracted
but-
locally, and you call the Anchorage office, they have people contracted locally to do that. I'll have to ask them that, but we'll start with the city properties. But anyway, the last piece of just Marianne and I, Commissioner Benoit and I have been talking, and it sounds funny if you were listening to this recording. Well, why are they so worried about just digging a hole in the ground? Like, how complicated? It could be a joke about that. How many commissioners would say to dig a hole in the ground? But the whole point is, when you start going to somebody's yard and you start excavating a whole bunch of dirt, what was brought up to me by Bruce Jaffa, for example, is you really kind of want to filter out the rocks and really only put dirt back in, not put the rocks back in, if you want the sign to really stick. And then you got to put the sonotube in, fill it with concrete. Then you've got to put some kind of post to hold the thing up so the sign stays up straight
While
when
the
it
concrete
happens.
is drying.
I mean, that's why. So there's a lot of steps to actually digging the hole, because if you're just doing it in your own yard, you're like, whatever, that didn't really come out that straight. I'm okay. When you're digging in somebody else's yard,
And what do
you
you
know
do
what
with all the
to
rocks?
say. That looks
Yeah.
horrible. So, what's that?
And what do you do with all those
Exactly.
rocks? Now you're a rock pile. that you're
We'll have a
living
rock
with.
garden. Anyways, I'm so sorry for interrupting, but that's why there's the whole, How
This
many
is a little
commissioners
bit-
does it take to put a sign in thing?
A lot. I'm pretty sure it's a lot.
So Jackie just texted. She said y'all can also use the city GIS link to get a general idea of utility location as well.
That's
Oh,
great.
that's good, because some of these places, like Mount Marathon, my guess is there's nothing up there for utilities, like, do they really need to go there? So what's that thing called?
She just said it's a GIS link. I'll see if I can get her to
That's
send
on
it.
the city site, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, if that's all the discussion on that, the next part is this historic walking tour presentation. So, as we discussed, the grant requires that we do a presentation. And we
Now, is
determine-
this something you're gonna wanna do during the regular meeting? Or are we just discussing this so we're ready to go in the regular meeting?
Well, I'm letting you know what the deal is, and then if we need to discuss anything before the regular meeting, I guess we have to also discuss this at the regular meeting?
Yeah.
too? Okay.
Or at least, let the public see, I mean, they have to be involved in this, and
Right.
it needs to be put on the record in the minutes.
So the point of this then was, because we have to do a public presentation, I put this video together because I thought we can put this on the Facebook page. We can put this on our webpage that we're developing for the walking tour, where the map will live, where our credits will live, our sources, all those things. This could be at the very top, so anyone who comes looking for information, they can see this. But also, if we want to use this for our presentation to the city council, we could also do that. And in addition to this playing this, there's a slot for each one of these slides. We could create a packet that basically gives them a handout with each slide. Because there's there's text on each slide that talks
They're
about
hard,
each
and
slide.
it's hard to see.
That-
Yeah.
I don't read all that stuff, I'm just like trying to get through this really quick, so, but
Yeah.
then they can look at that, see the sign in detail if they wanna look at it, plus the whole list of all the 46 sites, etc. So
Great
that's
idea,
what I was
Commissioner
thinking
Benoit.
was, we could, if we wanted to do it, we could play this for them, we could give them a handout of all the slides, we could also give them a handout that has the
The map?
walking tour narrative stuff. I don't know if Peter will have something for us that we could show like a mock-up of it, of the actual map by then, but if he did, we could maybe show that.
Yeah.
So that's this, what this thing is,
I think city
Let's
council
see.
will appreciate that too, because they like it real succinct and limited. So
Yeah, we
I
have
think
10
it's real-
minutes.
Yeah, I think it's,
So I
this
love
is
the
like
fact that
7,
you timed
yeah.
it.
And then we need a little bit at the end for questions, if they have
this
any
is,
questions.
this is 6.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Believe me, I worked on this, at first I had it, 5 minutes, and Tug's like, that's way too fast, you have to do something about that. I'm like, okay,
That's not what
so.
I said. I said the quality of your words deserve to be heard. And you sound like you're
That's
talking
way too fast, you have to fix it.
about.
She's reading between the lines, Commissioner LeBrecq.
So, anyway, that's what this is. I've worked on it a lot.
It's really nice.
I feel like, I'm hopeful too that this could be something that could be at the library too after the earthquake movie. And I know you're like, 3 minutes would be great, but I cannot possibly make it that. And still tell the story, at least so far I haven't been able to, so. I'm hoping this can, do a lot of things.
Have
as
lots of
video.
uses.
Yeah, exactly.
Be useful to a lot of people.
Yeah,
And I
it's excellent.
realized that the thank you sign, that slide that's in here, will need to be revised whenever we get the new one. Which
Yeah.
isn't a problem to do.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, do you want to play this now and look at it before the public meeting, or just wait?
Just wait for the public meeting.
Okay.
Although we could, well, yeah, okay.
Wait for public.
Well, no, let's go, okay.
You do what you.
One of the
I
four.
wanna see it.
Me too, so that we can discuss it.
Actually, I want to
okay?
see it on a bigger screen. I see it on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, does that sound good?
Yeah, it's fine. 6.5 minutes long, so. I
And
guess
then
we
that'll
have,
get
what,
you out by 7.
12 minutes
That's
left?
fine.
Is there anything else?
Commissioner Breck?
A very quick comment in that I will also provide a written report of what we've done with the grant to go to city as well. I'll review it with you, Director Kingsland. Just a real simple thing, like this is what we said we were going to spend, this is what we are going to spend, this is kind of the timeline we said we were going to do. I actually said in the original grant, we'd do 15 to 25 signs. I really thought it'd be more like 15, and here we are at 26.
Yeah.
So I'll report, they'll want to know that. It should be something that's in the public eye of what we said we were going to do and what we actually did do, and then, so.
26 plus the thank you sign.
And-
Exactly.
And at that presentation, celebration, we want to have a cake.
Yay.
I like it.
Cake
So
is
mine
good.
will just be written because I don't want to take away from that. Okay?
Yeah. Well, it can also go into the packet.
And go into the packet. And
Right.
we just, watch the presentation and then time for questions if they read through anything and have
Yeah.
any questions, I think.
And I did already go through this with Commissioner Benoit about a week ago, but the questions are not included in those 10 minutes.
Oh,
awesome.
super then.
Oh, well, that's good.
Just, I can imagine city council would have questions, so.
Yeah, and then this thing is listed on my personal YouTube or my business YouTube site, but it's unlisted. So anyone who has a link can see it,
Great.
but if they don't have a link, they can't see it.
Well, we don't want to let the cat out of the bag too soon.
And that was another question. It's like, if you guys like this, do we want to put this on our Facebook page before we do the presentation to city council, or
No, I
keep
think
it,
we should do
No,
it
do it at the same time?
city council.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's who we're reporting to.
Because just, again, quick thing is that, again, Director Kingsland we started this about 2 years ago at some point, and she had the faith in us to say, we would turn in our receipts, we would do our work, we would finish this project on time, and then went to city council and went to the administration, went to the city manager and said, administration will support this, we believe in it, and so city council has been a big partner, and administration, the city's been a big partner in this with us, so I think we do need to recognize
That's the
it with them
unveiling.
first.
Yeah.
That's the unveiling.
I agree.
It's a CLG grant, it's a certified local government grant,
Right.
and we're an arm of this city,
Right.
so I think that's probably most important before it
Yeah.
goes in the public.
Okay.
Agreed. Okay.
All right, go ahead and play it. I can't stand listening to my voice, and they're going to make me do it again.
And nobody likes listening to their voice.
The Seward Historic Preservation Commission, with a grant from the Alaska State Historic Preservation Office, work with partners and the public to create a historic walking tour with 26 signs, 46 sites, and a map and a webpage. Now that you're here, you've become part of our story. Let's take a quick tour of our 26 new signs. When you take the tour in person, you can start wherever you choose. You can pick up a map at the Seward Community Library Museum and discover all the details of Seward's amazing history for yourself. Starting on Brownell Street or Hoover Alley, this was the place to be during Prohibition if you wanted a drink, while the bootleggers and moonshiners made their living. On First Avenue, you can see the 1904 Brownell House, where D.C. Brownell, who was part of the 1903 landing party to Seward, lived. On Second Avenue, this was the place where most of the workers and local businesses lived. If you were on the south side of St. Peter's, which was Seward's oldest church, you were on the bad side of town. North of there was considered the good side. Check out a few historic homes and learn how clues found in the walls during the renovations of one house revealed the well-known family that once lived there. On Third Avenue, this was a place of bustling activity, and where additional businesses, hotels, and homes were established. You can see some of Seward's fanciest houses on Millionaire Square, which were built around 1905 by railroad executives and other prominent citizens. On Fourth Avenue, this was the beating heart of Seward, where the business district has always been. Some businesses are still around after over 100 years under the same names. And others have come and gone due to fires, earthquakes, and the passing of time. But their buildings and stories remain. And they certainly have some interesting stories to tell if you just listen. has always been Seward's place to celebrate and have a good time during the 4th of July, both then and now. On 5th Avenue, you can see the site of a 1906 building that was probably a boarding house for early railroad workers. You can also visit the Sweatman House, built by Stoker Johnson, and slid down a hill accidentally when it was being moved to its current location. It was set upright, still intact, and drew up here by horses, cementing Stoker Johnson's reputation as a master craftsman. At 6th Avenue, you can learn the history of the Seward Community Library Museum, the honorary start of our walking tour, and see several houses moved here by horses.
I love these pictures.
And learn about one family's harrowing escape from the fires and exploding oil tanks during the 1964 earthquake. You can also learn about Seward's Quonset huts and the famous actors that may once have stayed in one of them. Check out on Railway Avenue the beautiful train station that used to be on Adams Street but was moved here to save it from the floods. See the Founders Monument, where a landing party arrived here in 1903, and you can look over to where the 4th Avenue Wharf used to be before it went into the drink during the 1964 earthquake. On Adams Street, you can see the haunted Van Gilder Hotel, and the Standard Oil Manager's house that survived the earthquake and the exploding oil tanks next to it. And now on Jefferson Street, it's the widest street in town because Willow Creek used to reach down and regularly flood the town. We tried to contain it once with a big wooden box or a flume, and when that didn't work, we dug a tunnel through the mountain to divert it. On Church Street, you can get a great cup of coffee in the old Methodist Church, a wonderful building that's been connecting people in Seward since 1917. Then you can head up Old Canyon Road and learn the truth and conjecture about our famous Mount Marathon race. And don't forget, there's still 20 other interesting historical sites on the tour worth a visit as well. We hope you enjoyed the tour. Thank you so much to our partners, donors, contributors, and especially to the property owners willing to share Seward's history with others. Enjoy.
Nice job.
The end. Okay. Yes, it is absolutely super fragilistic, wonderful. There's one problem I have with it though.
What?
And that is when you talk about getting a great cup of coffee at the Resurrection Coffee House, I don't think that's appropriate because we're not selling any of the other businesses, and it is a business. We know it's historical, but this is about a historic walking tour.
I know, but we added stuff like that into the CB.
On the sign. On the sign, not any here on your video. No other one of these is mentioned with regard to what they can do at the business.
Okay. I'll think about that because that will be a real problem to try to change
That's
whole
not
narrative
easy.
and get the
That
timing
took,
to work again and take
took
that
her
out.
dozens and dozens of hours.
Yeah,
So as much as I tell Commissioner Benoit that she should keep things simple and she doesn't have to take all these things on, she does. I hear what you're saying.
I'm not
I
sure.
don't know that cup of coffee is, I don't know.
We all know it's the coffee.
Well, it's a competitor to the Sea-Beam, it's a competitor to the train wreck.
I'm not sure people are gonna take it that way, though.
I think what we're saying
Well,
is it
the
used to be a church
visitors
and now
aren't going
it's
to,
not.
the visitors are not gonna take it that way, but the business owners, you know, the people in town may very well take it that way.
I'm not sure it's worth the effort.
Well, we can vote on this the next meeting, and that'll settle it.
Sure.
There you go. We just have to all be behind, whatever it is that we do on this project, we all have to be behind it, so if people love it, they love it, and if they have a problem with it, we all voted on it.
That's right. We can do that.
yeah. Okay.
This, my comment does not consideration. But, you know, again, we're gonna vote, and the majority is gonna rule.
It's all right?
True.
Do you need to have me, do a break?
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, I
need to
think
make
we're
a quick
good.
phone call and that will, if we all take a break.
Okay, I'm gonna call this meeting, I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
During the work session.
I'm adjourning the work session at 7 PM.
And when do we start the next one? 7 PM?
7:10.
Yeah, about 7:10.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out somewhere to put this. I heard a joke. I don't know if it was